bring it up, which you think that would make it into the...
You're right, yeah. Alrighty. You ready?
Yeah. Bring it.
Okie doke. So the first of my mundane questions that hopefully you will expound upon in an interesting way is...
Set me up.
Which work are you most proud of and why? And I think it's pretty obvious, though.
Yeah, I have one book published. It's that. And yeah, I've taken it through the most production in different kinds of ways. It's not the first novel manuscript I've finished, but the others, I shopped them around for a while and put them down. And this one, I thought, there's an audience for it. Ended up going with a pretty small press, so I'm still doing kind of a lot of PR and that kind of thing. I guess I'm pretty proud of what I was trying to pull off structurally there. I had different audiences in mind. I wanted this to work for, first of all, for anybody, for a literary fiction audience, but also like maybe a more mainstream audience that where you can have a plot, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And things can happen, and it's not just purely literary only. And then as far as long distance running, I do that. I'm into that, and I care about it, and I wanted to get the sport right because there's a lot of fiction out there. There's a lot of nonfiction about running.
Right.
There's a little bit of fiction written about running, but I don't think hardly any of it really gets the sport right or does it well. Also in a compelling way that can fly as literary fiction too. So I was trying to do a lot of things there. I think I took some structural gambles that I hope worked out okay, and yeah, so that's kind of my biggest thing that I put the most work into over the whole arc of beginning to end, I guess.
Cool. And you mentioned, I feel like a real interviewer now. You mentioned that it has a big audience, the topic of running, which I
could have a big audience, right?
Right. You said you had a big reader base or something in there a second ago, which I didn't.
Well,
I wouldn't have expected myself, because I heard you were writing a book about running a couple years ago in class, and I was like, man, this guy's crazy. That's what I thought. And then I read it, and I loved it, of course. But
well, thanks.
Yeah.
I guess I'd say I feel like there's a potential big audience for it, in that, or an intersection of audiences, in that, yeah, I want it to work for any reader, so that you don't have to run or know running or care about it or ever want to run a step for it to work.
Right.
Things fall.
Yeah, something. I think I know.
Oh.
That's this crystal.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
That's enough. Okay.
That's dual refracting quartzite, which is a thing in one of Thomas Pynchon's books. But yeah, audience. I think the potential audiences, I did have in mind there, and yeah, runners have been a big audience for this because sometimes runners read books.
Right. Which is another thing you don't normally think of. Like when you think of somebody that reads, you think that's all they do. And if somebody's going to be into running, that's probably all they'll do.
And I feel like there aren't that many books, certainly fiction, that would compel runners to be like, ooh, I will go read this book that might even be literary fiction. They're not going to pick that up unless it's about the thing that they know. And
right.
But demographically, once you get into like the ultra distances and stuff, you get like a really high percentage of people with who are pretty literate with advanced degrees and all that stuff. Go figure. And
you got to be smart to care about fitness, I suppose, and understand it.
Well, I mean, it's, I don't know about smart, but I think it's just partly to have the leisure time to do this kind of stuff, and like the insurance plan that'll fix your body and stuff, and so it's kind of like a demographically heavy on the like white collar middle aged white guy sport, you know.
Right, right. Do you think people outside that demographic could enjoy it? Like you said, that's what you attempted to do.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what I was shooting for. Where the book's done best are places where like where I have an audience of a bunch of runners though, because
Right.
then you get a bunch of people who aren't necessarily readers, but oh sure, I'll try that. What the hell, you know. So, potential audience and actual audience are not the same thing without a whole lot of PR and publicity, and just there's a lot of books out there, you
Right.
know. Getting people aware that your book exists is a big part of it, you know.
Right.
So you know, I'm always looking for more and bigger audience there, but yeah, I feel like there are a lot of books right now that are literary fiction that only appeals to people who read kind of introspective literary fiction, and that's, if you write one more book, that market is already oversaturated, you know.
Right, right. So was that your main goal when writing this book, was to fill a gap in the market? Or was there some other greater goal that you had in mind?
Well, I mean, it's a thing I know about, and it's a thing I care about. I'm a nerd, and I enjoy learning like the science of running and performance and that kind of stuff, which I never really like formally learned or anything, but it really intrigued me, like as it relates to, you know, to like to me personally and to people I know and that kind of thing. So you know.
So it was a bit of a learning experience for
Oh,
you,
sure, yeah.
just as much as for the reader.
Yeah, I had to like learn all the biochem and stuff, but some of that was things that I was enjoying finding out for my own reasons anyway. And
Right.
yeah, I wanted to tell it right. Yeah. Why the hell do any of us write? I don't know. Is that because I can't stop and do something more productive with my life? I
Right.
don't know. Is it right?
Well, that is a good question. Would you say that's it for you? Is that that's about the most productive thing you found you can do with your life?
Geez, I hope not. Because seriously, if you look at it, like I think for most writers, like the time invested versus the return, this is not the way to, you know,
Right.
get rich quick, you know. So yeah, why do we do this? I think you know, we could get philosophical. I think like why do we tell stories, and why do we read stories or hear them or watch them or whatever? Why is that important? You know, I think it's
I think a parallel could be drawn without stretching it too far, that that's what your book is about, other than superficially being about ultramarathon running. It's more about why do we do the things that we love that tear us to pieces.
which is true of all of us, right? I
Right.
mean, I think any good fiction is about, yeah, why do we do the things that we do? It's about some insight into the human condition, and yeah, I was trying to write about a character who has like some real flaws that he's
Right.
aware of, and you know, we all know what our flaws are, and yet we don't fix them, and we keep fighting against them. So I think, you know, fiction is a way to explore the human condition and learn about ourselves and others, and if we figure out a thing, to share that maybe. And I think that's why we read, you know, why we read anything good. I
Yeah.
hope, you know.
Is sharing your personal insights and opinions and views of the world a big part of it for you individually?
Um, sure, I guess. Um,
Because I know that one of the reasons I write is to express thoughts that I have that I can't just strike up a conversation with somebody about.
Yeah.
Like, hey, have you ever thought about this? And when you write it down into a story, it gives you license to be that crazy person that runs up to you on the street and says, hey, what about this?
You have a reader's captivated attention for a longer period of time, and you can
Right.
develop a longer thing. Yeah, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. If you feel like you can tell an engaging story, and then someone tells you like, I read this and I loved it, that's a good thing, right? Or like,
Right.
wow, you really got this right or something. I feel good when I hear that from ultra runners or from high school chemistry teachers. You know?
Right.
Or I know some people who are both, but
Good. Cool. I might be the worst at this. I don't know. So, my apologies if I am. But
you know, geez, what question are we on?
well, that was one. That was question one that we
Oh,
managed
good. All
to
right. Yeah, we
expound
nailed
upon.
that. Yeah.
So I suppose the next we've touched on some of them already that are spread throughout there. Does working at the university and meeting new students every year influence your topics or characters? Because as I was reading it, and this just might be my narcissism kicking in, I thought to myself, oh, that lazy kid in class that doesn't seem to care too much is Alan. He took that from me, and I've felt so proud. But then I thought, no, he's got 1,000 other kids coming in that half of them are just taking a gen ed and sleeping, so it can't be me. But
Well, I'm delighted that for a moment though you thought that it could be you.
Right.
I'd love for everybody to read that and think like, oh, and, you know, imagine themselves into that. I'm kind of cheating and looking ahead too, but I'm not my main character.
right, that was one of the questions.
Uh, I think okay, there's this whole genre of the college novel, which maybe someday I'll teach a lit class featuring that or something. But there are a bunch of those, and I wasn't really setting out to write one of those. And I feel like that's kind of like an insular audience anyway, kind of like preaching to the choir there. So I wasn't really setting out to replicate the whole.
Oh no, not at all.
bit, but
But like being exposed to so many different people of different walks of life being brought together into your classes, does that help you to gain insight onto how to effectively create characters?
I see where you're coming from with that question, but I've been here 15 years, and I've worked with a lot of brilliant students doing a lot of great stuff, and I read your vampire piece, by the way, too, which is a lot of fun.
Oh.
We can talk about that when we're off tape or something, or on, or if you want. I don't care,
Well,
but
it's not about me, but
but
I mean, it's
everything
always
is,
about me.
you know? And I see a lot of brilliant students coming through classes, and but also, I mean, my window on all of their lives is pretty. I don't know what everybody has going on personally.
Right.
It's just a very kind of superficial
The
connection
shallow
that-
facade of a student pretending to care.
And I'm still like projecting more on like when I was a student and looking pensive in
Right.
class and pretending to give a shit about things, and I know how that is, but I see mostly it's a pretty, maybe you've noticed, it's not the most diverse student body around here.
Right.
Just saying. And I see everybody come through it kind of at this constant point of their lives. So it's like this 4-year window. So so I don't know. I'm not seeing I'd be more interested in what people are doing like 10 years later or something like.
Right.
Because right now all y'all are, seems to me looking back, are in pretty much very similar circumstances. What is interesting about the university environment is I have colleagues who are doing all kinds of wacky shit,
Right. Yeah.
these are great research opportunities. I've used that for another project. I sat down with Phil Lucas in criminal justice for a long talk on what a body looks like and smells like after like 3 weeks or something. And boy, does he have stories, you know.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Like a human body?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, he had some stories. Orange oil. That's the thing you want to use, apparently.
Orange oil to make them smell not so bad?
Through you soak it in a like orange clean kind of stuff. But or working on this, working on running out. I got to talk to people in the PT program to figure out where my character is coming from. I ran it by a couple people in College of Sciences to approve the sciencey stuff. I sat down with the track and cross country coaches for an interview to like fill in the stuff that I didn't do when I was a runner. So just the general university environment with everybody, with all these disciplines put together, I think it's a brilliant, it's a great research opportunity for a writer. So there's that, you know.
I shouldn't be so surprised that it was the people that do this for a job that you got your expertise from, your knowledge from, because why would it be the students?
I learned interesting things from my students.
Well, right. Mostly it's things on Urban Dictionary, though, isn't it?
Not necessarily, but the 106, the 206, the Comp 2 classes,
Right.
There are a lot of things that I learned interesting stuff about that I had no idea about. Like when I came here, I had probably like ridden on a horse before, and I could probably, you know, pick out a horse out of the barnyard scene, like
Right.
it's that one, you know. But like
And what sound does it make?
right, exactly. But there are, but you know, that's like a whole nother lifestyle that I wasn't aware of, and discipline and just field of people, or people who are doing the college thing and are really like fixated and focused on the sports. That's a thing that I had never understood or related to before.
Right.
So yeah, to an extent, I mean, I'm seeing how it is from all kinds of different points of view, and the things that people decide to write their research papers about and things.
Right.
Sometimes they're interesting. Sometimes
But you would say that when you set out to write this novel and anything else you write, you don't just have it all in your head and think, this is how I kind of want it to be. You actually have to think, okay, I don't know who this character is. Let me go research him.
There's a point where you figure out that you have to go do research. I don't think the research usually starts it. You know, when I figured out that this character was, like, this was his study and his profession, then I realized I had to learn about that, you know.
Right.
Or, yeah, like what I'm working on right now, there are a few people I need to talk to. I know a guy who's a pilot, and I need to sit down and have a conversation with him about what would fly after an electromagnetic pulse that pretty much destroys everything electrical. So, because I need to know these things.
Right.
He might know these things. I certainly don't.
Right. Certainly like a biplane that doesn't run on electricity.
Well,
It runs on gas. If it was like, I don't know. See, that's why we
okay, yeah, right. That's what I figured out so far. There's if it has a magneto starter, that's versus like an electronic ignition, then it might be easier to start. And I think of like the old school planes where they're like contact, boom, and they spin the prop, and that like starts it up. It's
Right.
that's a magneto starter. But,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know like how far back I have to go. So.
And so this is for another book idea or a story
Yeah, this
idea?
is for the current thing.
Ah.
It's near term post-apocalyptic sci-fi. So, yeah.
It would be interesting to know. See, I I don't ever hear about you see these zombie shows and stuff, and they always try to find a car that still works. I've never thought about anybody getting a helicopter or an airplane or something and flying away. That's interesting. Okay.
We have a lot of questions left.
Yeah. Well, we've brushed across a couple of
Yeah.
them. I'll go for one that we haven't. How about what is your idea of a successful work?
Um, I think it's successful um, when when you're happy with the product and the way it is, and you're able to put it in some like finished product into other people's hands or in front of their eyes, and other people can read that and say yes, that.
Right.
Um,
So as long as you're happy and the reader would be happy.
yeah, okay, sure. I think I'd say so. But you know, I think I would say I'd add to that. I think it needs to attempt something difficult.
Right.
There are a lot of things that you or I could do right now that would say, well, that's good enough. Would put it in front of a reader and say, that amused me for 10 minutes, and move on, right? But if it attempts some hard things and accomplishes them, then that's important, I think.
And what if you don't? What if you have you ever had like you said, you've had other manuscripts. Would you say that they crashed and burned because you couldn't figure them out, or just because the readership wasn't there for them?
Um, Maybe both, or maybe one because of the other. You know, I think I had one that I was working on in grad school. That's like in a box, and occasionally I'd roll it out and send it out to things when it's like just the right market or something. It's the quick slug line is it's some transplanted kind of blue collar Appalachian, Ohio area kids who end up in a love triangle in a Bozeman, Montana trailer park. So, which I thought was fun, but
Well, it sounds challenging too.
it
It's
was,
it's a very unique set of circumstances.
but it's not necessarily something that grabs the headlines and
Right.
is easily agentable and you know, knock down the doors of a big publishing or something. There's a lot on the market that does things like it and also does it well. Um, I had another one, the one after that. The main character is a dog walker in Chicago. I was a dog walker when I was in grad school, so I was pulling from that.
Right.
But he 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 can't sleep. He has this terrible insomnia, and he figures out he can only like fall asleep in other people's houses. So he's like taking tiny naps as he's like walking the dogs and things. So I'm kind of trying to. I don't know if that's ever resurrectable, but
It sounds fantastic to
well, it
me.
was fun to write.
Right.
And there's dogs in it,
Right.
and there's particle physics, and there's kamikaze poetry. So what's not to like, right?
Right.
Well, I think the reason he can't sleep is because he see, here's where I want to like resurrect this for current events and things, because his his friend from home, his best friend's or his old friend's little sister comes to the city to visit colleges, and she's kind of all over him, and like, screw the colleges, let's go, you know, hit the clubs and things, and
Right.
and she wants drugs and stuff, and so they go out and they party, and the next thing he knows, he wakes up, she's getting dressed, she's pissed, and he remembers nothing.
Right.
I think it pretty much like they both got roofied or something, but he remembers nothing and doesn't know what he didn't do, and only knows that she's pissed about it. Geez, I'm feeling like a little bit of a Me Too thing going on in there, because
Right.
cultural complications and things. But I don't have time to pick up that project right now. And that was another one where Yeah, without the big like hook that's gonna grab somebody in like a 30-second pitch. And there were difficulties with that piece too. They're
Right.
just structural things that I wasn't sure of. So um, it's things are the marketing part is hard, and just because it's a saturated market, it's tough to kind of break into things. So
Right. And speaking of that thing you just said that has just left my mind, because I have very little RAM up there.
yeah, we need to upgrade.
Speaking of not having enough time and things like that, what is your writing process like? Starting with like, do you have any rituals, or is it basically the bog standard? Start with an outline, go from there.
I don't know. I don't really outline things until I get them started, but like on a daily level, it's wherever you can find time. And I make a point of doing something writerly every day, which can include like the business end of things sometimes, but trying to engage with the work somehow every day is important on a daily basis. When I can, I like to kind of safeguard my post lunch caffeine buzz time, because it's the only time I'm ever like really productive or creative, and then I don't get any good ideas until I have to go pick the kids up in 10 minutes. So
Right.
as far as like longer structural things, were you in the class where I showed the South Park clip about the underpants gnomes?
Yep, I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, that's really it though. You got to have faith in that something's going to come together, because that doesn't mean it will,
Right.
but if you don't, then it won't.
Right.
That's for sure. So right now I'm still kind of gathering underpants, because that's what you do. Have I showed you the Scrivener app that I use?
I don't think so.
It's cool. I'll show you it. I'll just show them both this. I moved to this out of Word a couple of years ago, and yeah, it looks like this.
Oh, it's a word processing program.
Yeah, but also here is like the binder, the outline pane over here.
Oh, that's so helpful.
And this
I've always wanted one of those.
Yeah, so I designed all these flags and coded them myself, and all these icons mean something, and you can promote and demote and move things around.
So yeah, it is a retroactive sort of outline.
Yeah, it can be, and you can look at things. There's like all of part one, which is and you can list things by, let's see, by what gets included in the compile when you put it together, and what's just extra, filling space, status, labels, the last date that I messed with it, word
Oh my
count.
gosh.
I can list the characters who appear in that scene, or you can do a cork board and move things around. You can. It auto formats for screenplay,
Wow.
and you can split screen and like I'll look at like one thing that I'm redoing, and doing another window, move that stuff around. There are panes for file and document and overall project, external links for research. With one key, you take a snapshot and roll back to it if you mess with something and don't like it. It
Right.
tracks all those, so it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, that seems like it would be very, very helpful, and much more organized than anything I've ever done.
I mean, if you're working on a long thing, you might try it.
Mm.
Last I looked, it cost like $40, but it was
Like a once for life thing.
forever. Yeah,
Nice.
it was pretty cool. I liked it.
So then, what are your thoughts on revision? Because I think I've heard you talk about it in class before.
I'm for it.
You're for you're for it, yeah. But Is it easy?
If you know what's wrong and if you know how to fix it, then sure, you know.
But is it hard to let go of things?
Just take a snapshot,
Oh,
right?
clever.
Or just throw it out and put it in a pile of other things. Like there were in running out, there were probably there's probably like another 100 pages of stuff that was perfectly good material, but wasn't necessary.
Right.
I just cut it out. I mean, you gotta. I do a stage that I call the slash and burn revision, where I just go in there like, all right, I'm going to reduce this whole fucking thing by 30%. Which is incidentally around the number that Stephen King uses in On
Right.
Writing.
I've heard that he's famous for taking out large chunks of these huge biblical-sized novels.
But I think that gives you more freedom as you're writing to not meticulously line edit and make everything be perfection if you know you're going to cut out half of it anyway, or this scene may not ever see the light of day. Let's just see how it goes, right? And sometimes you just got to write the same thing 3 ways and knowing that they aren't all going to work. And then there are the story problems, the inconsistencies where how can I have both this and this? Or how can I lead this to here? Or why would this character do this? That you just worry about and think about in the back of your brain as you're doing everyday life until some solution appears and you try it. Sometimes it works, so.
Cool. And I'm supposed to get at least 7 questions, but I think we brushed over 15 of them.
Things.
So I think that's
We've
good.
hit a bunch of these, yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
and I feel like we've been here for 45 minutes of your time. But,
Ish,
so one last question?
Yeah.
Cool. That would be, well, I lied. There's 2 good questions.
Great.
Yeah, so first, how do you know when you're finished? Because, and if this gets published somewhere, spoiler alert, but I don't know what the teacher's doing with this. At the end of Running Out, there's a bit of a cliffhanger ending that I actually had to reread 3 times before I even understood, before I could even come to terms with it.
I felt like I was taking some risks with the ending, yeah.
Yeah, but then I thought about it and I thought, how else would you have done it? There's no other way. Or at least no other way that would have worked. So how do you know that sort of thing?
I knew the ending. I had the ending scene written pretty solid, long before the stuff that got to there.
Right.
Because yeah, okay, it's process of elimination. Ending where he is saved and all is good.
Right.
Could be done, but that wouldn't have fit with all the rest of the book that I was writing up to that point, right?
Right.
I mean, ending where he dies and wow, that sucks, and
then all that he learned was for naught.
Okay, in my mind, yeah, he dies, but
really?
But I didn't. Yeah, I cut away before that because I mean, it's like I talk about in class, the bait and switch thing, the thing that you give the audience to say it's about this, it's not really about that.
Right.
And I realized early on that if the ostensible question is, does he make it or not?
Right.
And if the ending only answered that question, I would have totally failed in trying what I really wanted to do here. So yeah, I mean the place he comes to at the end is, I think, independent of, because yeah, I cut away before he
Right.
definitively falls over and dies or something, because I didn't that no longer held any point for me, you know.
And then as soon as you say, and then he died, and all was happily ever after, then you stop thinking about it. Or at least some people would. You'd stop asking the hard questions, because when you set up all those things and leave them somewhat unresolved.
And I wanted to make it about bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Of course, I got the vibe that he died too, but I thought it was very.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't defined, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a very good way of getting out of the whole happy ending, traumatic, it was all for nothing, without having to commit to one of those.
I mean, I could see an ending where he gets out of it, and then it's not necessarily a perfect happy ending because
Right.
problems still exist. My publisher, the first read, the reader loved it but had issues with the ending, and I'm like, oh, okay, we can talk about the ending. Fine, sure, let's talk. I can do other endings, and then Scott, the publisher, gets back with me and says, he's a poet himself. He's a fun guy. Maybe I'll bring him to campus. He's got a big white beard and like blue blurry ink tats everywhere, and rides a Harley, and has run this poetry press for decades. He's like, no, okay, I went back and I reread the ending. You can't change it. You have to leave it how it is. I'm like, all right, I can do that too. Cool. So that was his first thought, was like, no, I see why it has to be this way.
Right. Cool. All right. And one final question, because as a bad interviewee, I don't know how to expound upon that further. Or interviewer.
I think you're doing great. What do you mean?
Oh, okay. And that would be, what is the single best piece, if you had to refine it all down into very little words, which I know you have a great propensity for from this interview, what is the best thing that you can do as a writer and the worst thing? Thing being very ambiguous. I don't know, strategy.
Best thing, go write something. Worst thing, don't.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a very you response.
Yeah, very, very minimalist, right?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it, though. I mean,
Cool.
right.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. Well, hey, thanks for reading my book. You
No
blew
problem,
through that
yeah.
in a fast couple of days. Well, thanks for your time
Right.
on that.
No problem. Well, you
appreciate
see,
it.
that's the thing. At first, because I can't read to save my life, because I'll just get distracted and then I'll find out I've read 50 pages and not absorbed any of it. So I find what it's better to do so you don't get distracted is have it read to you while you read it, because then you're locked. You have a pace, and if you look away, then your brain can't fit, so it snaps back to the word, right? So this whole time, right, I read the book in Word where I told it to read aloud in a robot voice, and I didn't know
so
that.
creepy.
Yeah, and I do that with all sorts of things just because I can't stand to read. And afterwards I figured out that you made an audiobook.
There's an
of it.
audiobook, yeah.
And I started listening to it. And I was like, I would much rather have read this in Dave's voice. Oh my gosh! But yeah,
Wow.
it was very, very much better than I expected. Like I said,
Well,
I
hey,
thought you
thanks,
were nuts.
which is still a possibility,
Well,
though.
of course,
honestly,
everybody
but,
is.
yeah.
Some people are just good nuts, and
Yeah.
right, cool.
Hey, yeah, I read the vampire piece too. I didn't make notes inside it, but I read through that. I like it. I thought it's doing some good stuff here. What's going on with the ending, though? How was he the viper? The what?
The snake that bit her.
Yes.
Yeah. That
Because you took great pains to say that he would not go against her wishes and transform her into a vampire by biting her. Then he says that he did, and that's what killed her. So.
no,
Okay. I was confused.
it wasn't a physical, actual thing. That was metaphorical. I was worried you were talking about something else. No, it's like by not doing so, because that was the only way to save her. If he had only done it, then she would have lived,
Yeah,
and then she wouldn't be trapped in his head.
or at least stayed undead.
Right, right. And he just regrets listening to that, I suppose, that advice. And also,
Okay, that part was fuzzy for me.
Right.
That's the thing in the ending that I think still needs to resolve.
Right. Bailey suggested I fix the ending too. Like it just ended too suddenly for her. But she loved the last line, which was oh my, I was the snake that bit you, and But the thing I was worried about what you were saying was I left it very vague in the part where he hooks her up to this contraption, because I tried to think like, I tried to word it so that in order for this to work, he had to actually like physically kill her while she was hooked up to it for the stuff to leave her head and go into his head. And it just didn't work. And that was kind of what it meant, was like, there was going to be this whole thing of he couldn't stop thinking about how his hand was the one that killed her. And
Okay.
but it just didn't work. So that last line sort of loses its meaning unless I can figure out a way to work that in there.
Yeah, I think you might have too many threads going on.
Too many,
in the
yeah.
ending.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, he's gee, look at what else is happening. If any aspect of her is left alive in him, and now he's killing himself, he's killing her again.
Right.
Right. Okay, maybe I'm projecting here because this is like a thing that I'm always doing, but I feel like the ending, pretty much from the snake bite. I feel like you want too many plot lines in here. All of them have potential, but I don't know if they all fit together.
Right.
You know, and
Like
maybe
a
to throw
frayed
some.
thread.
Yeah, they may be competing against each other. To also, what about okay, the meadow viper, the snake. I don't want to say snake ex machina, but it does kind of come out of nowhere here. Ways to set that up more, or
Snake
make
ex machina.
right, or make the thing that kills her more unavoidable from the preceding circumstances. I like the idea of the snake, but from the story sense, there's no reason it needs to be a snake. She just needs to die, and better for story reasons if it's something at his hands or that he is responsible for or guilty about, at least anyway, right?
Right.
So what does that open up?
Yeah. Well, the snake thing was supposed to be like.
You get Adam and Eve and all that, the evils of the snake and all that, yeah. But...
Well, no, actually, I don't even think it was supposed to be like that. It was just there's a lot of imagery, I guess, that's supposed to be conveyed where it's, serpents are like vampires. They bite you and then they go on and they don't care. And a lot of the like names of these people, right? Like Dracula. Dracul means dragon in Hungarian. So Dracula is the son of the dragon, who was his father. And then it also translates to devil or serpent, right? And so I was thinking to myself, I don't know, these guys are like serpents. And that was just an image in my head. But I can't, when I think about it, it's like so superfluous and I can't justify it, like you say, but...
If you like built it in through the story
Right,
a lot more, well, what about? I'm thinking about like their existence before the snake. There's this tension between them, yeah, because of who he is and who she is, but that also seems pretty like resolved for the moment, and they're okay with that. I'm wondering about what if, for some reason, I'm thinking, what if she comes in with some issue, or if she never completely healed from the beginning when he found her or something, and so there's something that has to be done to keep her healthy or alive.
That was the
like
first
that,
thing.
know?
That was what it was
Yeah.
before the snake, was that she got sick again in the rain because she was out in the cold. That's what it was. Thank you. Would that be, do you think, a more natural...
I mean, if you have some condition of hers that is worsening, and they can both see it, and she resists any kind of treatment, then you can pull out this no, don't bite me thing for longer.
Well, that was one of the huge problems too, is I didn't have that much space to work with, because this is from the writer's kitchen, and it says rather ambiguously on the paper, 12-page limit. And so I go and talk to the guy whose name I don't even remember, and he's like, Well, I mean, it could be, it doesn't have to be double spaced. It could be 1.5 spaced, just as long as it's not an assault on the eyes. So I'm already at 14 pages, 1.5 spaced, I think, or something like that, which is a bit of a...
If you really wanted to crunch it, I think the beginning could compress and get us into, really, the story starts when she shows up, pretty much. I mean, the rest is necessary, but necessary is backstory. We could get to that more quickly, but I was going to say that it took me a while. It took me the first page. It took me a while to kind of get into the voice.
Well, that first paragraph or two is totally just something that I started writing because I was feeling rather depressed that day. And it started and I was like, you know what this reminds me of? So that first is very, very disjointed.
It kind of feels like warm-up.
Right. Warm-up is a perfect word for it. It could be reworked, definitely.
But I think also, if you have a question of like space to work with and what will it take to do this right and do what you want to do with it, then do that. Maybe it's
Right.
longer than this, and maybe there are places besides from the writer's kitchen you could put this, or they want stuff pretty soon, don't they? You could give them one version and keep working on it.
I could do that because I think you always gave me the hardest criticisms, and I thought it was just because the other students were just like trying to be nice, as everybody does. Like, I don't want to be too harsh on you, but
Except for me, because I'm just trying to be a dick, right?
right. No, but you know what I mean. Like you always gave me the most unworkable criticisms because they're workable, but they require a complete, total vacuum of time and space to just seal yourself in to fix. At least for me, because I am.
But they're the kind of
Inept.
things that I thought you could pull off, which is the only reason I say it, and yeah, okay. When I was in grad school, people would tell me the same thing, like would be critiquing somebody else's manuscript. Somebody else would say, "You could do this. Here's an easy way out of that," and I could say, "Or you could do this, which is a hell of a lot harder." But, and so people are finally like, "Oh, okay, finally, yeah, I get a easy way, hard way. The hard way's probably better, but it's hard."
Right,
so.
right. Well, and it's not just about the hardness of it, is that I do have a limit. And I figured, I don't know, I like From the Writer's Kitchen.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
You could give them one version of
Like
it.
I said, yeah, I think I'll do that. Because
Keep working on it.
this to me and some of the other stories I've written, they seem like they're all in the same collection of styles. Like, this is a brand new modern age myth, and it just ends too quickly. Not that it was so great you can't put it down, but that it didn't get its proper money's worth out of it. And I think I should probably
You have more build up
expand on them.
than the ending really results in.
That's the worst thing. It just happens and happens. It just goes, and then the ending is a paragraph. That's my worst thing, is that I summarize everything in a sentence. I was always that way with papers, too, as I'm sure you know.
I thought this worked, but I think there's more to the ending. There's the her in his head fading, and
Right.
and is she still there? Is she coming back? It may be that just letting him kill himself is too easy.
Right.
Okay, gee, flash forward 100 years. Where is he now?
That's a good point. There could be this whole quest of him trying to get her out, and then wrestling
or
with the
forget,
thought of
or
forget.
alternate
Yeah.
between, I was getting a whole like Ligeia vibe too,
I don't
Is
know
that
what
Poe?
it is. I should know
I
it
lost
if it's
Ligeia.
Poe.
I think it's
I might be the worst quote-unquote writer in the world if I don't know a Poe poem
I think it's a story.
or story. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ligeia. Which only sticks in my head because when I was like in junior high, there was some like thrash metal band that made a song about it. So they like the story, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, what's the synopsis? The story follows an unnamed narrator and his wife, Ligeia, a beautiful, intelligent, raven-haired woman. She falls ill, does stuff, and dies.
There you go.
There you go, right?
I should look at that for a comparison on how to write a dying wife.
There you go.
Right. And part of that ending, too, is...
Oh, it goes on. After she dies,
Oh.
the narrator marries the Lady Rowena. Spoiler alert, she becomes ill and dies as well.
Oh, well, if that isn't telling of Poe.
Yeah,
Poor Poe.
he stays with her body overnight and watches as Rowena slowly comes back from the dead, though she is transformed into Ligeia. The story may be the narrator's opium-induced hallucination, and there is debate whether the story was a satire. That sounds freaking hilarious.
Yeah, what? Satire of what? Oh, no.
Also, a recent George Saunders' recent book, Lincoln in the Bardo, is interesting. It's kind of like historical idea based. The idea is when Abraham Lincoln's like favorite son at like age 9 died of consumption or whatever people died
Oh, it
of.
was typhoid.
Yes.
I think actually most of the people he knew that died of typhoid.
Oh, right, yeah. But so he was in the he just couldn't get over it. He was like going back to the cemetery and like into the tomb and holding his boy, for like weeks after this.
That's real?
I think so.
Whoa.
He had some issues there.
Yeah, everybody thinks of him as the guy on the $20 bill.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell a lie, whatever.
But the story is told mostly through the voices of the dead in the cemetery.
Right.
Which is interesting. It's an interesting concept. But,
Yeah. Still a better love story than Twilight.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. And one last thing. That ending, right? Would it be better, quote unquote, if I told you it was inspired by the Gothic narrative? Because that's what has been saturating my brain in Diedrich's class.
You wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
I was pretty much my assumption because it was I
Okay.
was pretty Gothic all through.
Because I figured it could only end in tragedy, and normally everybody dies. So
How about postmodern Gothic tragedy where
You
not
threw in a lot of
everybody
words there.
dies and some people are alive, and that's worse.
oh, that's worse. Like Hitler survives or something.
Or just he lives and, my God, this is a living hell. I can't even kill myself.
Right. Oh, shoot. Yeah, what if he couldn't?
Yeah, what if he fails?
Oh, that's a better ending.
Yeah. Doomed to walk the earth forever, remembering what he did.
Yes. And it's a good thing I've got your critiques here on my phone. Cool. Well, thank you very much for giving me the interview and for telling me about all the work I need to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for reading my book, Alan.
Oh, no problem. Like I say, I loved it. I actually wrote a little review of it on Facebook, which
Oh,
I've never
sweet.
done before, and posted it. And then I tried to tag you in it, just to be like, hey, look, I made a thing. But it didn't let me tag you. I guess we're not friends on Facebook. I don't know.
If you ever feel so inclined to get up onto like Amazon or Audible or something and paste that thing in.
Oh, that's
Collect
right. You can do
reviews.
that. Good idea. Right. Do you have a copy of your book with you today?
I do.
Because I have a crisp, wrinkly $10.
Well, yeah, and that's pretty much cost here. My publisher's doing it. I don't need that. It's too much. Maybe. Let me sign that and yep, I'll even give you a copy that has all of page 214.
As opposed to...
First print run didn't have cut off a line.
Oh no. It's funny. No, that's the sort of thing that people would collect.
Yeah, we'll see. That's what I'm thinking.
I myself, as you know, am a collector, and when there's oddities
true,
like
yeah.
that, yeah, like if there was a CD where they just totally
Oh
omitted
crap! I
a
could have
track.
given you one of those. But
Right. Oh, do you have audio CDs of it?
Oh no.
I didn't figure because it seemed like
I meant
it
like
would
the
be
errata edition, but
the what?
the errata edition, the like the error, the 214 page. But
Oh,
well, this
I've
is,
never heard that word.
This is the first.
Yeah. I love those Coke machines. The ones where you get to push the buttons and pick what you want and then put flavor in it so you die faster. I don't know why. I am the weirdest person in the world. I love the strangest things, but Dr. Pepper with strawberry. You haven't lived.
I don't know if that's a life I want to risk. Well, thanks for the collection.
Thank you. Collection.
I don't know, for the things you collect.
Oh, for the collection. I thought you meant thanks for the collection. I was like,
There was a comma in there. I don't know.
yeah. Well, I didn't think it was a comma. I thought it was like a, what's the next word I want to say? Because I do that.
That too. Well, yeah, good luck with the empire.
Oh,
There's stuff going
thank
on.
you. I'll attempt.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Do you want your...
Oh.
Let's do this.
See ya.
Later. Can we talk about classes sometime too? Right?
Do we already have to schedule that?
I think you're probably eligible to schedule that, so put it that way.
Yeah.
We can talk sometime.
I don't have anywhere to be right now. Are you busy?
I got a couple things to do, but
Oh. Because I don't want to take up any more time than you would have.
Actually, I've got a big chunk of office hours, so we should do this sometime. Yeah. I don't know if you're open to class, to register yet. I would think you are, because you got the credits on. What do you need to take?
What do I need to take? I don't know that. That is something that is Shakespeare available? Because I think that's the one. That's.
Yeah, Shakespeare's being offered 2 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Alright, that's definitely going to need to be in there. And if, like you say, I'm not eligible to sign up yet, just make like a memo or something and put me in later. And then when inevitably 5 out of the 6 classes don't correspond with each other,
Yeah.
I'll come back in and we'll revisit it. And then I've got bookmarks here of classes that I was looking through just to fill the gen ed things. I'm supposed to have a piece of paper that tells me this, but of course I can't keep track of it somehow.
What's your ID number?
Here, 506607.
Okay, we'll do the degree audit thing here. Alright, so hours. You're in Spanish, and then we'll looks like the gen eds are pretty much done for, right?
Well, right, but then you gotta have like 1,000 miscellaneous hours that aren't called gen eds, they're just...
Hours?
Right, because you need like 72 hours of all the stuff, including gen eds and your actual stuff, and then you need 128 hours total, and they don't ever say where those are supposed to come from. So
Some of those are just hours.
Right, exactly, so... I've been trying to fill those whenever I couldn't actually fill up my scheduled classes I need.
Oh, hey, you need English 235. This spring it will be fiction to film adaptation. I'm teaching that Thursday nights.
Do we have to make a film?
No, but I suppose you could.
No, that's good. That's fine. That wasn't a hopeful, do we have to make a film? That was a, please don't put me on camera.
It's movie adaptations. I'm trying to figure out. I'm still working on the book list for that. But
So we just read a book,
we
watch
watch
the movie, and then we talk about...
what they did to, what they did with the adaptation, and why they did that.
Interesting.
You need
Wait, I need that? That doesn't seem like something that was on there before.
that. Oh no,
It
well,
never
that's
changed.
235 is approaches to or topics in literature. You need one of those.
Well, I'll take it.
It could be something different
Right.
next fall. But right now.
Well, I'd rather... I don't want to make it sound like that sounds awful. But that actually sounds like the least of all evils.
Good. So,
Oh, except you're going to make us write papers on it, aren't you?
there will be. Sometimes it is also taught as African American literature, which also has writing and papers.
Well, I can't escape the papers.
That's going to be a thing. You need English 300, the English language, which will be offered.
That's it? That's what it's called?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's it about?
I think it's about the English language.
But all of it?
All of it.
I guess if I need it, and I can take that, and it doesn't conflict with anything else, that works too.
Yeah, we can knock that off, and that's on the rotation.
Oh, yeah. English 300 is one of my bookmarks.
Well, there you go then.
And what was the other one? 330?
235 is one.
Oh, well, 330.
230 is Shakespeare.
Ah,
Yeah, and you can get on that. So.
yeah. Those three are good.
Let's see. You need the capstone in the fall, but okay, you're in Brit-Lit.
Right.
You will need one of the American Lits and one of the World Lits. You could take both of those are being offered. You could take World Lit late Monday, Wednesdays at 3, and those major works of America in 1865 to 1945 Monday evenings.
Is either one of those 202?
No, that's 332 and 339.
Okay. Well, if I need
You've got, you don't need 202 because you took the 306, which
Oh.
covers that.
fantastic. Okay. So American Lit would probably be the better of the two. What was the other option?
World Lit, late.
Well,
Kind of which era do you like better?
yeah.
Modern or
I don't like
pre-World War
America,
II?
so because I know I've been here and
Yeah.
therefore. Okay, fine. World Lit. Which one is
You know, you'll also need for the creative writing major. You'll need one more 208, which is poetry, which is every spring. You done 208 poetry?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, okay. Wait.
I've done 3 208s.
Yeah, they just didn't list in the same place. That's cool.
Okay. Whew.
And then you'll need 2 more 300 or 400 lit electives. Eventually.
Oh.
Young adult lit could be one of those, but you could wait and see what's going on.
Between American Lit and World Lit, what are the times? Like the actual not physical time.
The temporal.
Yeah,
place
temporal.
race, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
World lit late is 3 to 4:15 Monday, Wednesdays.
Okay.
American lit is 6 to 8:30 Monday evenings.
Oh, well that just tells me what I need to know. Definitely World Lit.
Okay, so the afternoon one.
Yeah.
Write some things down here. If you're looking for hours, also, I'm doing this this honors class in multimedia narrative, which is going to be kind of picture like 306, except more tech and trippy stuff. So.
306 was E-Lit, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we're getting like more technical with this.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I might have something scheduled for that semester.
Yeah, there could be a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got you down though for 300, the English language, and Shakespeare.
Yep.
And World Lit Late. I think that's all Monday, Wednesday, Friday so far.
Weren't there 4 things? Or
Did you want to take the 235?
which one's that?
That's the film to.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And those are all things that will fill a required credit, right?
You need all those. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. So that's 4 things. I need at least 5. Well, I'd want at least 5 to get out of here as soon as possible.
Right.
And then 6
So-
if I want to die.
Other things, let's see. The only other thing being offered that you need specifically would be American Lit on Monday nights.
But I thought I only needed to take 1 thing.
You need, well, yeah, you need one of the American Lits.
Oh.
You could wait and take a different one.
So
at a
World
different
Lit does not
semester.
replace American Lit.
Right.
But I still need World Lit.
Yeah. World Lit, American Lit, and Brit Lit each have 3 different courses for 3 different time periods. And for the major, you need one of each of them. So 1 World Lit, 1 Brit Lit, and 1 American Lit.
Okay.
So,
And you say there is another American Lit available that semester, or I'd have to wait till the next
No.
one?
if you wanted to wait until like fall, then you see what's on the rotation then.
Huh.
That would be.
So it's not just that it's not offered at all this next semester. Like you're not just trying to say, oh, if you don't like that one.
No, it will not be offered at all next
Okay.
semester.
Okay.
But,
Okay then. If that's
yeah, when are you? How, let me pull up the actual rotation.
right. Because preferably, first priority is to get all the things that actually have a little blank space that I have to put a check mark in.
Check boxes.
And then after that, I'll fill in the cracks for anything that I can't do yet with, like, art class. I don't know.
Okay, it looks like the American Lit only comes around every spring.
So,
So it's Monday night this spring or whatever happens next spring. If you're still going to be around then.
well, you said it didn't happen. Spring.
Next spring.
No, what?
Wait.
No, this spring. You just said it's this spring.
Yeah, that's the one that's Monday night.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that still too.
Okay, we could put you in that, and that would be
I'll do 5 classes.
5 classes.
What's the schedule like? How awesome would it be if I just had to go Tuesdays and Thursdays all day? It won't be.
It would be a lot of Tuesday, Thursday, like mid-afternoon, and then you got the Monday evening and the Thursday evening.
Is there a visual representation that I could see?
Do I need to draw?
No, like the little chart that you print out that makes it look like a schedule, because my brain can't keep
Can I
that in
do
there.
that?
Oh, do you have to actually submit it to?
I don't know. We could always submit it and see if it'll take it, and
Oh, yeah.
change it if we don't like it.
Right. Yeah, I would need to draw a picture if you couldn't, because I would. I
I'm pretty
can't
sure
understand.
you're looking at. Let's see. Okay, so you'd be looking at 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
12 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
And then a 3 o'clock to 4:15 class Monday, Wednesday. And then you'd have a Monday class and a Thursday evening class.
Oh, so I don't have anything on Tuesday, based on that.
Yeah, nothing on Tuesday.
And just one thing on Thursday.
Just a Thursday evening, yeah. And Friday you'd be done by like 3.
Wouldn't I be done by 3 on all Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays?
No.
Oh, no,
because-
Monday and Wednesday, something starts at 3.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. This might be the easiest it's ever been to do this.
Well, now that you've taken most of the things, there aren't many things left.
Right? I'm only a junior, right?
You're asking me.
Yes, yeah. Because it seems like, what else is there? No.
Okay. You're open to the timeline is open. We could put you in that, but you are in academic hold status.
Oh, for the love of... I know what this is. Let me guess. They don't think I've paid a bill.
No, the financial responsibility statement.
Oh, why does it have to be every semester?
Because they're afraid you'll pay
I'm pretty sure they got people that arrive at your door in black suits if you
and
forget.
remind you, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear it. Look, I can probably do it right now. My Findlay, check some boxes, write my name as if it were a signature. Have you ever filled out the financial responsibility statement? Probably not being a student.
No, I have not. But,
It's kind of like when you scroll to the bottom of an end user license agreement and you just hit agree.
yeah.
Because in order to use the thing, you have to. So who cares if you sold your soul?
Well, I know that like the HR forms we have to do every year, or like for my wife to be on my insurance. Like, yes, she still doesn't have her own insurance. She's still self-employed. Nothing's changed there.
Yeah.
Still.
Do they at least have the thing where it's like, have any of these things changed? And then you hit no? That would be nice.
No, I just have to give it to her to sign again.
Oh, yeah, there you go. As long as you don't have to refill out all those things. Yep, this is what I get, by the way. This is fun. So we get this whole thing, whoop-de-doo, and all I have to do is type my name. Not a signature, just type my name. You can type my name.
Oh, maybe I will.
I mean, you could. It would be fun.
Make sure set the term for spring 19 though.
Oh, yeah. Spring, winter/spring 19, I guess. That's weird. It doesn't give me an option just for spring. Oh, it means it starts in the winter and goes into spring. I don't know why they wouldn't just call it spring.
All right. Maybe there's a winter term for some.
A-L-L-E-N-M-I-C-H-A-E-L-L-E-W-I-S. Did I do it right? Oh, gee. I did. I've successfully accepted it, it says.
Okay.
And I get an email about it. Woo. Just what I always wanted.
It still says academic hold. Hold on.
Did you get the refresh button?
Well,
Don't mean to insult
closed
your
and reopened
intelligence.
it. But I mean, I need to like close out of the whole thing. But
All right. Well, like I say, it's not that much of a big deal. If you've got it written down, then we can just work on it later. Did I seriously not hit pause on this recording? Because I think I'm going to. It is. It is out.